animal products, which include fermented beverage called mazzoni, made from cow, goat, and sheep's milk. And more rarely, fresh meat with the fat removed, so no veganism. So if you want to live into your 140s, 160s, you should have a little bit of animal product in it. That's what I'm getting. Next slide, please. But these researchers are kind of deceptive. In their conclusion, longevity diet lesson number 1. One of the most striking characteristics of longevity is that these long-living societies eat mostly vegan. I mean, come on. If the man who lives the longest has some meat and milk in his diet, why are you mentioning veganism? I mean, there's an agenda here. And this is becoming more of a popular diet. Oh, Brad Pitt's a vegan, so-and-so's a vegan. See, it works. They look good, so you think they work. Now, it says here, though they include some animal products, they depend on locally farmed, organic, plant-based food for their survival. Once again, they eat meat by accident, basically is what they're saying. It's a necessity. Now, at the bottom, the last star there says, so learn the valuable lesson these cultures teach us. If you want to live long and healthy, cut out the processed junk, is good. Eat as naturally as possible, good. Cut down your meat and dairy consumption or go vegan. And ultimately, try eating more 100% raw food. I mean, this is just me. I mean, who knows of Michael Phelps? He's an Olympic swimmer, won a lot of gold medals. Now, he came in first place. Now, imagine if the second place person was very near next to Michael Phelps. And the coach who wanted to train up new swimmers said, you know what, although Michael Phelps won, the guy who came in second place, his technique is what you should use. No, you should use the first place winner's technique, which Michael Phelps had. So if the people who have the most longevity eat some animal product, why do you keep recommending the second place vegan? Next slide, please. Now the Mississippians, now we're going to take a little world tour, a little trip. We're going to go around to ancient cultures and see what they ate, because maybe this veganism is more rooted in the past and we came off the rails. These are the Mississippians. Actually, the state of Mississippi were named after these Indians. Next slide, please. You see that arrow there? See, the slides are not that good because it needs to be focused. It says animals such as deer, raccoon, and turkey also remain important sources of food. And you notice, they did have agriculture, but no leaves. I'm pointing that out for a reason. Cultivation of maize, which is corn, squash, and beans. Nearby fish and waterfowl were readily available in these locations. No leaves. No salads, no kale, collards. Next slide, please. The doggone. These are the people the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan used to refer years ago that were able to spot stars, the red and the blue star that appear every 50,000 years. These these primitive people go way back if they're able to check stars 50,000 years. The are primarily farmers of Malay, rice, onions, beans, tobacco, and sorry, I skipped the word I couldn't pronounce, farming. Apart from farming, they also herded goats and sheep among a few cows and chickens. And towards the end, it says fishing is done once a year, so no veganism and no leaves. If you notice, they ate vegetables, not leaves. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, you have to see what's in the middle, but the information was wrapped around it. These are the Olmecs. These are another ancient people. They planted many of the same crops seen in the region today, such as squash, beans, I can't pronounce that word, sweet potatoes, and tomatoes. Maize was a staple of the Olmec diet. Sounds a little vegetarian, but towards the bottom, the Olmecs they avidly fish nearby lakes and rivers. I don't need to go any further other than they also ate alligators. I don't know if you knew that. For meat, they had domestic dogs. Oh, man. I'm not saying that's what you got to do, but we trying to find out what our ancestors ate. What's the right way to eat? No leaves, by the way. Now, next slide, please. Now, the Arawak and the Taino, if there are any Puerto Rican brothers and sisters here, the Taino, or natives of, I think, Hispaniola and maybe island of Puerto Rico. No, Hispaniola, I'm sorry. Now, it says this is pre-Columbus invasion. If you think white man was a bad influence on them, what were they eating? They also ate snakes, various rodents, bats, worms, birds. I'm not trying to give them a bad name, but it seems like I'm going around the world trying to find the roots of veganism, extreme vegetarianism, and can't find it. Down at the bottom, the Arawak Taino grew maize, squash, beans, peppers, sweet potatoes, yams, and peanuts. No leaves. There's no cabbage in their diet. No collard greens. Next slide, please. This is the traditional African diet. Suffice it to say, I'm not going to belabor the point, but it says here, excuse me, they like insects. These are our brothers and sisters in Central Africa, the Maasai, the Bantu, those type of tribes. Yeah, the diet consists of sweet potatoes, corn, beans, bananas, Malay, kafar, corn. But when those who didn't have herds of animals, they ate insects, bees, wasps, beetles, butterflies. That doesn't sound like a vegan diet to me. I don't know about you. But it's something about having animal product or that type of protein is very helpful because they didn't have diseases. They didn't have bad teeth. They didn't have chronic diseases like we have today. Next slide, please. Now, that's the Samoan Island. See the fish net? See even the sister down at the bottom? Fish net. So she's fishing. Apart in the graphic slide there, but that is a whale. That's in Alaska. And then they also do fishing up there in Alaska because things don't grow a lot in Alaska. So they have to eat meat, and they let it out to dry. All around the world, the universal diet. Yes, ma'am.
When you finish, I would like to ask you a few questions because I'm having a bit of conflict with certain things that you're saying.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm here to make people upset. You next question.
No, it's not upset.
No, I'm being sarcastic, sis, not pointing towards you. I'm poking and prodding. You know, don't take it personal. Although I'm being a jerk right now. Next slide, please. Now, see, the players from the Himalayas. Now, Abdullah Muhammad said in Our Savior Has Arrived, they claim that there are people today in certain parts of the earth who are way over 100 years old and still beget children. This is referring to the Muslim people who live in the Himalayan mountains. Now, if you've ever been to the Himalayan mountains, is Mount Everest, 24,141 feet above sea level. Nothing really grows up there that well. So, this right here in the lower left-hand corner, this is a paper, yeah, I had to read this to make sure that I wasn't missing a step. You gotta read, you gotta study, you gotta back this stuff up. It says here, Himalayan herding is still alive and well. Economics of pastoralism in the Langtang Valley, meaning they were herding yaks and goats and stuff, meaning they were drinking milk. I hope I'm not boring you.
No, sir.
Okay. We laying the base for Muhammad's teaching. On the side there, they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is what the Sherpas, you know, those strong brothers, they call them strong men. I think Sherpa means strong man. They go up and down that mountain, but all them people will go up to the top of the summit and freeze to death. They have a special diet, not very vegan. A lot of meat. Now, Next slide, please. See this handsome, I assume that's a boy, wrapped around with leaves. Now, I got a problem with leaves. I'm not going to hide it. But this is the Jarawa, pardon me if I'm mispronouncing it. These are people who've been around 55,000 years. Same place. I believe this is India. I misplaced my note. But anyway, well, they hunt pig and turtle and fish, and they eat crabs and other fish. They're hunter-gatherers. Been around a long time. That's a long time in one spot. You know, squatting in the jungle there. Next slide, please. Now, I just want to make sure you have proof that that's a termite that sister is eating. These are the people called the Bushmen in Central Africa. They are the closest to vegan I can find, but they still ate bugs, so that technically means they're not vegan. They're trying to get certain types of vitamins and nutrients from eating bugs. Now, the guys must be crazy. How many people ever seen that movie? Very good movie. I love that movie. I remember watching that as a little boy, where in the opening scenes, he killed wild game to feed his family. So you got to preach the full gospel. Even though they're vegan, they're a subsect of another group that do eat meat and drink milk. Next slide, please. Now the Batois. Brother Lewis, thank you for referencing that earlier. They've been around for 60,000 years. No leaves. They don't eat plants. They eat vegetables, and they hunt small animals. They didn't mention what type of animals, but hopefully it's not pig. But these are pygmies. These are the small brothers and sisters that live in Central Africa. Next slide, please. I'm going to try to liven this up a little bit. I know I don't want to bore you, but I got to present this the way it is. Now, the reason why I put this like that, it says, that is why the Jains do not eat underground vegetables such as potato, onion and garlic, beetroot, carrot, etc. The Jains are a group of Buddhists who are vegan, but it's by religious choice. They go as far as to say that since those vegetables grow underneath the ground, they are alive, and we don't want to eat anything that's alive. These are the monks you would see wearing masks on their face to make sure they're not inhaling living microbes. That's extreme. That is sort of like they're protesting their existence. Like, I want to exist, but not to interfere with other living things. It's not a health choice. It's a religious, sort of like humbling choice. Now, at the bottom it says, what did the Supreme Being say for us to eat? Next slide. Now, y'all remember the story Cain and Abel? You know that story. But to the left here, it says, thus saith the Lord. Now, in that is Genesis 1, 29 through 30. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth and the birds of the air and the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has breath in it for life, I give every plant for food. So he's saying to the beasts, I give you plants. But to man, I'll give you every seed-bearing plant and fruit bearing seed-bearing fruit from a tree. Then you go down to Genesis 4. 3 chapters later. Now Abel kept the flocks. Flocks. If you're a vegan, vegetarian, what are you doing with flocks? And Cain worked the soil. All right, so he's following God's plan. In course of time, Cain brought some fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel brought fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock to the Lord. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering did not look with favor. So he dished the vegetable offering, but accepted the lamb. That doesn't sound very vegan to me. Next slide, please. Not very vegetarian either. Now, Abraham, I'm not going to read this whole thing. Abraham met the Lord in the plains of Mamre with 2 other angels. And it says here, Abraham fell face down. Then next chapter, now he's Abraham. He went ham on us now. He's Abraham, not just Abram. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. Quick, he said, get the 3 seeds of fine flour and knead it and bake some bread. Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice tender calf and gave it to the servant who hurried to prepare it. He then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared. Seems like God likes lamb, don't you think? Curds are, I guess, fermented milk, and it says here they eat milk and curds, like dairy too, not vegan. Next slide. I gotta speed this up. I'm not putting you to sleep. Is every plant good to eat? Now, Elijah Muhammad said, and I would not like you to follow the Bible in Genesis where Adam is told to go and eat all the herbs of the earth. There are some poisonous herbs that would have killed Adam. This is a mistake that the theologians put in the Bible. You cannot eat all the herbs. So some of them will kill you. But eat the best of herbs that God approves for you and me, and do not think he approved of Adam eating all the herbs of the earth. And the quote beneath it is very similar. But he does mention poisons, that poisons and poisonous. Those are very key words. Next slide, please. And I wanted to make sure I define it. I like the second definition of poison. It is a substance that inhibits the activity of another substance or the course of reaction or process. Means that you eat something natural, but it alters the activity of another element in your body. That's what a poison does. It doesn't just kill you, it alters other actions. And a toxin is similar to a poison. But a toxin is let me just read the definition. A poisonous substance that is a specific product of metabolic activities in a living organism. Meaning that you can eat a living organism and it has a toxin that will kill you. Certain toxins, have anyone ever wondered why we don't eat the orange peel, the lemon peel, banana peel? Because they contain toxins in them. So you discard that. If it's all natural for you to eat the fruit, that's part of the fruit. But these toxins are called tannins. So you don't eat the toxins in the fruit, which are the pills. Next slide, please. Now, plant toxins. I'm just going to skim on down to the bottom. Phytic acid. They're saying, well, it's not so evil. But phytic acid is a toxin in plants that are very harmful. At the top, see, I have it underlined, all plants contain toxins. Now, Sister gave a good presentation on composting, but plants naturally have defenses because they don't want to just be eaten and they can't run away. So it said, if you want to eat me, I'm going to pay you back by poisoning you. And certain animals refrain from eating certain plants because they feel a toxicity after they eat them. Down towards the bottom, I have it underlined, kale and Swiss chard have far more phytic acid than beans. Now, kale is a very bad vegetable to eat. I know it's propped up as a superfood, but kale is very poisonous. Phytic acid is in many healthy foods like green vegetables and nuts. When they say green vegetables, they mean leaves. Next slide, please. Beans, the poisonous fruit. Now, the Elijah Muhammad, next slide, please. This is saying that there are lectins. Lectins are another toxins that are in beans. That the Elijah Muhammad, I believe he was referencing it when How to Eat to Live. He says, don't eat any other type of bean other than the small white navy bean or the brown or the pink ones. The navy beans have a less amount of lectins, and when you soak them, you get those out. Next slide, please. Here it is. Legumes are nuts, peas, and beans. Now, legumes have lectins in them. The only thing with stomach enough to digest nuts is an animal. Birds love nuts, and they have what it takes to digest them. Elijah Muhammad said no nuts whatsoever. Period. No nuts. No almonds, no pistachios, Brazil nuts. They are not good for you. Said you need gizzards. to digest nuts. Gizzards are like fingernail-like material on the inner lining of your stomach that grinds the nuts. Human beings do not have gizzards. Birds have gizzards. I know some of us have had chicken gizzards. Now I have a green dot there because he says Allah forbids us to eat peas. In another point, he says every pea except the green pea. So I had to put that there to remind me. Those are for cow. Now, the next paragraph, no beans that he advised except the small navy bean. Wow. The small size and not the large size, the little brown pink ones and the white ones. This bean he valued to be high in protein, fats, and starches and safe to prolong life. And you will find most of the Muslims like their bean soup. I like my bean soup, but we got bean cookies now, bean cakes, bean bread, bean ice cream, bean soda, bean chips.
Bean soup.
Bean soup. Let's get that right first. And he said, do not eat the highly rich soybean. I'm not going to go too far into that. Next slide, please. I think we really need to understand the anatomy of a plant when we talk about eating a plant-based diet. There's root, stem, flower, fruit, leaf. Now, if you recall, when I mentioned the Bible verse, it said the seed-bearing fruit and the seed-bearing plant, not the leaves. We eat roots, we eat stems, like in celery, flowers, as in broccoli and cauliflower, and the fruit, obviously. You can't eat all of the fruits because some of them are not meant to be eaten, but the leaves present a problem. He said, do not eat the vegetable called kale. Now, I brought this out because down there at the bottom, they say kale per calorie has more calcium than milk. It's a falsehood. Next slide, please. Now, the reason why I have a big problem with eating salads and a lot of greens, and you should too, is that humans do not manufacture cellulase enzyme needed to digest this type of fiber and must rely on fermentation by the flora in the large intestine. Cellulase is an enzyme that digests cellulose, which is a sugar in plants. All plants have cellulose, so you need cellulase to digest it. Humans don't produce that. That's a problem because enzymes control all of the functions of your body. If you don't have the enzyme, it's hard to digest. That's why it's called fiber. It goes through you, cleaning you. It doesn't really give you a lot of nutrition. You may look in the microscope and say, oh, there's vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin D, but you can't get it because you don't have the enzyme. I'm talking leaves here. This process allows us to break down a small portion of these plant fibers, but the rest act as bulking agents that are eliminated in the stool. Of course, some creatures are much efficient than we are in this type of cellulose digestion. The cow, for example, a cow eats 100 pounds of food a day. You would need to eat a lot of leaves to try to get that amount of nutrition. All right, next slide, please. I can hear people snoring. Trust me. So I'm calling this stop on green, not go on green. Stop on green. Here are quotes from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad on green leaves. These are in How to Eat to Live. So sometimes I see Muslims eat a lot of salad, recommend eating a lot of salad, and I'm like, I have a problem with that. Do not eat many green greens. They are not good for you. What makes you an authority, Mr. Muhammad? I just showed you it's hard to digest, and they contain toxins when you eat, especially when you eat it raw. Especially the collard greens and the cabbage sprouts. Do not eat them. There are plenty of herbs and vegetables that you can eat other than these, but seek only mostly the white ones, such as whitehead cabbage and cauliflower. I know, Brother Lewis, I don't know if you've ever heard of this brother on the internet saying anything white is man-made and is poison. Yeah, oh, you said it, not me. We're saying green is poison, he says white is poison. When we eat raw vegetables as they come up in the earth and the other roots and salads, this is against raw foods, which are raw. We are not doing our stomachs good. Our stomachs are not made to digest these foods in their first raw stages. Then we go down a little bit, a little. In bold letters, raw salad is good for us if eaten along with cooked food. Even if we eat it daily, but do not make meals of such raw salad. Now, those of us who prescribe to the teachings of the Most High Elijah Muhammad, you got to take this into consideration. When you go home and you just eat a salad and think you are giving yourself nutrition. Eat butter, milk, and fresh vegetables, but not your old favorite collard greens, cabbage sprouts, turnip salads, mustard salads, beet top salads, kale. Your best vegetables are cauliflower cabbages, not the green cabbages, but the white ones. Lastly, but do not eat green leaf vegetables. I'm sensing a theme here. Such as collard greens, which some of us have taken for our diet. It's green, it's gotta be good. Do not eat a lot of these green vegetables anyway. I'm gonna stop right there. And at the bottom in parentheses it says leaves. This is not Brother Charles. Leaves. You better be careful with that veganism. Next slide, please. What about meats, Mr. Muhammad? Fish is a better food. If we eat the better fish, the flesh of the fish comes out of another world. This makes it better for us in this world. Any animal or beast that is out here eating the same food we eat, we should not eat him. Because his flesh is too hard for our flesh to digest. You know, you got flesh digesting flesh. It doesn't work that well. All of our food in the way of meat should come from the sea, ocean, river, or lakes, and not from four-footed animals that are walking around here and eating almost the same things we are eating. He does say in other parts of the book, eating meat is against life. But he makes a clear distinction here that fish is a little different. That in the initial opening that I had, the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan said that land animals will be removed off of our plates. But fish is good to eat. Next slide. Now, I love Dick Gregory. Y'all know that. We brought him here 3 years ago. But the universal circle of life, Dick Gregory said, I don't eat anything that can fart, poop, pee, or blank. Dick Gregory. But my question to him is, would you eat something grown in a fart, doo-doo, and pee? And that's what manure is. Sister Carrie just gave a very beautiful presentation on composting, and manure in the making of soil is very important in farming. But you won't eat what makes it, but you'll eat the food that's made in its defecation. We gotta understand the universal circle of life. You can't get away from the animal when it comes to eating. Next slide, please. Now, we're gonna come off of the farm for a minute and get into our grocery stores. Commercialized products, processed and refined. They put soy in everything, brothers and sisters. It's a poisonous toxin. And then we walk down these aisles, and sometimes there's no meat in these products, sometimes no dairy, but they're made of corn, high fructose corn syrup, and partially dehydrated oils. Now, if you ever do any research on partially dehydrated oils, you will not eat them. Them things last a long time, and they do damage in your body when they're going through it. And they're in cookies, cakes, they're in a lot of food products. When you go down these aisles, which are very colorful, but some of that stuff can stay on the shelf for years. You don't want to eat that stuff. Next slide, please. So, exactly what can we eat, Mr. Muhammad? Navy beans, whole wheat bread, pure milk. We have to respect this. This is the best diet, the right way to eat. Next slide, please. Now, I don't really have to go that much into the navy bean because I know a lot of us think that the navy bean is the Muslims' #1 food, but actually it's not. It's our third food. But we're famous for the navy bean, and it is regarded as one of the healthiest foods. Next slide, please. Now, Lord, give us this day our daily bread, but do you want it gluten-free? Now, I'm going to leave these quotes by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad up there. I don't want to put you to sleep on my monotone. I'm very monotone. Very boring sometimes. Oh, thank you. You're too kind. But now, our wheat bread have to be a certain way for us to eat it. Now, Brother Henrik had mentioned Dr. Ridgely, who has a farm. He posted a paper on Facebook, and I read it. I took the time to read it on wheat. Now, wheat, do you know that wheat has to sit 8 to 12 weeks before you mill it down? Do you know that? But you know that the Western culture, I'll put it that way, they like to put things on the market real fast. So what they do is they flash heat the wheat germ, which causes the gluten protein to harden. So it becomes indigestible and unrecognizable to our enzymes. And then, when that becomes a problem for people who can't digest that type of gluten, gluten is in all grains, it's natural. Every culture has a bread. They make a bread. So gluten is in all breads. So when you can't digest gluten, it's because this GMO producing industry then flash heats these grains and make them harden, so you can't digest the gluten. Now, one of the other problems here is that in the second paragraph, whole wheat, but not the whole grain, it is too much to digest. We don't eat the whole grain. We have to grind it down to a flour. Eat the wheat, never the white flour, which has been robbed of all of its natural vitamins and proteins, sold separately as cereal. So when you buy a box of cereal, it's the wheat germ broken into parts. The wheat germ has 3 main parts. They take out the inner germ in the bran and leave the other part, and they make cereal out of all 3 parts. So it's never whole wheat. So what they do is they enrich the different parts, and that's how you get enriched flour. So they try to break it apart because they want to get it to market fast, and then they artificially introduce the vitamins that are lost in this process. Next slide, please. I gotta speed this up. Now, we're going. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, I'm taxing your time. Okay. Bread deals with living things, with giving life, with growth, with seed, the grain that nurtures. It is not a coincidence that we say bread is the staff of life. Does anyone know what a staff of life means? Staff means necessity. Necessity. I'm not making the word up. But not only that, Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whomever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. See, he's connecting himself with bread, and Jesus is a righteous man, so bread is being connected to a righteous work. Now, the reason why I find that biblical verses and Quranic verses are important, because critics of the Bible would say, I don't know what Jesus is talking about. People can't digest bread. When you're saying you're the bread of life, you're giving people gas and, you're fattening them up. It's not healthy. That's what a scholar would say. Scholars would do research like that. But since bread is very vital, it's always been very vital, when you correlate yourself to bread, meaning that you are correlating yourself with the best of foods. Well, how do you know it was wheat bread? Matthew 13:30. This is the story of when the disciples came to the Lord and said, Lord, in our field of wheat, someone came in the middle of the night and sowed tare among the wheat. Tare, in wheat, when they grow, they look similar until the harvest. And Jesus said, don't worry about it, because we'll know the wheat from the tare, because the wheat bears fruit. So wheat is more valuable than any other vegetation. He could have said, hey, look, forget about the wheat. Let's plant some rye or barley. But wheat, very good. Now, Elijah Muhammad recommended wheat. Next slide, please. All right. See, this is a government website, and they even say down there in the, I wish I could make it bigger so you can read it for yourself. And it talks about refined grains. And they're honest about it. Yeah, we refine grains. We permit them to be distributed in These refined grains are detrimental to our health. And they even talked about enriching it down at the bottom. Most refined grains are enriched. There. Next slide, please. All right, not too much longer, brothers and sisters. Now, Jesus feeds the 5,000. And what did he feed them with? Fish and bread. Not almonds, not apples, quinoa, kale, all these so-called health foods. What did God give them? Fish and bread. That's a lot of people, 5,000 people. Interesting thing about bread. Almond Mama said that our bread should be stale and moldy. Did you know that? Did you read it in How to Eat to Live? Oh, okay. Why? Because they discovered penicillin in bread mold. Antibiotics are compared, that's next to the star there. Antibiotics are compounds produced by bacteria and fungi which are capable of killing or inhibiting, that means stopping, competing microbial species. This phenomenon has long been known and may explain why the ancient Egyptians had the practice of applying poultice of moldy bread into infected wounds. So Mr. Muhammad is telling us to eat wheat bread, but he's inoculating us against bacteria that can hurt us when we eat moldy bread. I mean, how did this man know this? Back in the 30s and 40s and 50s when you had leaders trying to integrate lunch counters and trying to get us better jobs, he's trying to teach us how to eat properly and do for self. Bread is a healer. But you have holistic teachers that tell you, first thing you gotta do is you gotta get off of wheat. Drop wheat. Wheat is bad for you. Next slide, please. Yeah, wheat is bad. Now, the problem is they've confused the ingredients on top with the ingredients on the bottom. Guess how many ingredients are the one in the top? 20.
Wow.
At the bottom, they even added an ingredient just to say, no, it's not in here. No sugar. 5 ingredients.
Right.
That's a big difference. So people eat fat with soy lecithin, soybean oil in it, all these yeast softeners and stuff like that. They get sick with that and then say bread is no good.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder too. That's food number 2. Let's go to food number 1. Next slide, please. Now, milk gets a bad rap, please, Milk is a bad rap. Milk is the only food I know that's referenced in the Holy Book. The chapter of the Bee, chapter 16 in the Holy Quran, 1666. Surely there's a lesson for you in cattle. We give you to drink of what is in their bellies, from betwixt the feces and the blood, pure milk, agreeable to the drinkers. What other food have you heard is more agreeable? Agreeable. Edible, a lot of foods, but agreeable. Next slide, please. What do your ancestors eat? Are Africans lactose intolerant? I've heard that before. 80% of the continent can't digest milk. I don't know. I see a lot of cows and yaks and goats and sheep. Next slide, please. Oh, you got evidence of some drinking some. Oh, go figure. Then why are we intolerant? Next slide, please. See the human breast milk? It's sandwiched between 2 other type of milks. The Jersey cow, and I can't pronounce the other cow. Guernsey, thank you. Very similar. See, they're very similar in their fat content. Babies need fat. Babies like fat when they're born. They don't need leaves. Almond milk, which is really almond pulp and water. It's not milk.
Rice milk.
Rice milk, that's right.
Almond milk.
I don't know about that. But did you get the point? I mean, that's why people over time have gravitated to cow's milk as a nutrient and vitamin source when they get off their mother's breast. So you just keep the same nutrients going on. Next slide. They are not the same. That pasteurized, homogenized mess is not the same as natural raw milk. Now, you may not be able to digest milk at all, but when you are asked a question, what is Honorable Elijah Muhammad's #1 food? Don't give your preference. Give the reference. Milk. Pure milk. Don't say, well, if you ask me, I like the navy bean, and I like kale chips, but don't tell nobody. I eat a lot of raw salad, but don't, that's just me. You giving your preference, not the reference. Next slide, please. Here's a problem that we have. Now, I blanked out the name. I friend this person on Facebook, but you see the Muhammad there. This is called Friendly Fire. Mother's first nurse, first teacher, positive parenting. The calcium in 1 glass of carrot juice is equivalent to calcium in 5 glasses of milk. Generally, repeated ear infections, runny noses in children are closely related to eating mucus-forming dairy products, milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, etc. Oh, sister. Sister. And I asked her, where did you get this information from? Next slide. But to the contrary, no. I did the research. See down at the bottom here? I'm sorry, you can't read it. Carrot juice, 57 milligrams per cup. Go over to the other side and you're cutting off my slide, brother. Pure milk, 300 milligrams. Oh, no, what I meant was it's 1/5 of the calcium of milk. 1/5, a fifth, 5, same thing. See, this is the type of problems that we have with people with an agenda against milk without the proper information. And then you do the research and it becomes fact over fiction. Next slide, please. Now, what's important in milk is that the enzymes in them, when it's processed, the enzymes are destroyed. Remember, brothers and sisters, you can't do anything in life without your enzyme friends. That's one thing we must understand, that we just don't eat food and just absorb into our bloodstream, go to our cells. No, we have enzymes that process it in the digestion, takes it in the bloodstream, drops it off in the cell, rides with the cell, goes where it needs to go, and then the enzyme puts the nutrient where it needs to go. Phosphatase is an important enzyme in milk. I gotta make this point. It's a key enzyme in accessing two of milk's important minerals, phosphorus and calcium. Now, the most common criticism I've heard of milk is that it robs you of your calcium, the bones. The old people who drink milk, they have osteoporosis. But what happens is they drink pasteurized milk, and the enzyme can't get the phosphatase enzyme can't get the calcium and phosphorus into the bones. So what does it do? It builds up on the outside of the bones. So they say, see, we see deposits of calcium on the outside of the bones. Guess why? Because it says down at the bottom, they process and pasteurize the food until they make sure all of the phosphatase is destroyed. That's when they know when the milk is ready and bad for you. Next slide, please. I gotta speed this up. Raw foods are bad. I gotta put it like that. Fried foods are harder on the digestive system. That's one key point here, because I'm taxing you, and I gotta move this along. But enzymes are what does the digestive job. Next slide, please. See, steam pressure cooking. He says cook your food under steam pressure. Not fry, not bake. Don't overboil it. Steam pressure. Get a pressure cooker. Right. And it's a process called hydrolysis. It breaks down the food and it allows it to be easily absorbed into the body. It excites the enzymes. It doesn't destroy it. And down at the bottom, the end result of hydrolysis is acid and a base. Now we're going to get into warfare here. Because there are people who say, you need to be more alkaline. Next slide, please, right here. Alkaline, you're too acidic. I got to deal with this, because I get asked about this all the time. Brother Charles, is alkaline water good for us? What about alkaline foods? No, brother, don't eat that. That's acidic. Haven't you heard? This is a general chart of acid and alkaline, or acid and base. This is the range, 1 through 14. And all these foods fall within that range. See, acid, alkaline. Next slide, please. Now, healthy skin and hair and nails are acidic. See on that slide there? I know it's sideways. It's healthy skin, hair, and nails. The largest organ on your body is the skin. It's acidic. And someone comes up to you and say, you're too acidic. And naturally, that's why skin is supposed to be acidic. Is it just me? Maybe it's just me. I have a problem with these people teaching this stuff. Next slide, please. What you ought to do is you just need the right balance of acid and bases will get help. You could power electronics with the elements of food. Food has energy in it. It's a fuel. If you have the right balance. Now, lemons have citrus acid. If you're acidic, it will harm you, but lemons are good for you. They alkaline the body. See, there's a science here going on that people just try to gloss over and just say, just eat alkaline foods. Eat a lot of leaves, green stuff, and you're poisoning yourself. Because we just went over green leaves. Next slide. Well, we just go over it because I'm taking a long time. Now, this is physiological pH for dummies. This is me. I'm a dummy. Acidity is fantastic foolishness. Your blood has to remain between 7.35 and 7.45. Your blood goes everywhere in your body, if you didn't know. And if it gets out of that range, what it says here, alkaline, you're dead, acid, you're dead. If your blood gets out of that range. Your body says, stop trying to acidify and alkaline your body. Your kidneys and your lungs won't let you do it. This is a process called homeostasis. Your body regulates its own acid alkaline levels. So drink all the alkaline water you want. You don't want to waste your money on it. I'm not saying eat all the acidic food you want, but you need the right type of balance. Next slide. It's alka-hype. Don't believe the alka-hype. You think the best anti-aging foods, you get a lot of this stuff. People trying to recommend this stuff which is alkaline, and you think that if you eat that stuff, you'll look younger, feel better. Yeah, for a while, but you need acid in your diet. Next slide, please. This small type here. A healthy organism in light-based condition with a pH value of 7.35 to 7.45. However, there are parts in the body where another milieu, another condition predominates. Thus, the stomach is naturally very acidic, while the secretion of the pancreas is alkaline and neutralizes the acidic charm in the small intestine. This is key here, brothers and sisters, that even if you eat an acidic meal, your pancreas and your liver works to alkaline and neutralize it, no matter what you eat. So it's very, very hard to be acidic. So when people tell you that, you're like, come on, no. My body won't allow me to become acidic. So Elijah Muhammad says the loss of our stomach can cause the loss of lives. There's a limit to the amount of digestive juices that start flowing when our food enters the mouth and continues it into the large colon of our body. So when your body is too acidic, you'll feel it. You get like acid reflux. And what do? You take Tums, alkaline, Alka-Seltzer, alkaline, Rolaids, milk of magnesia, Pepto-Bismol. These are chasers. You're not eating the right kind of foods. You're just balancing the acidity. Next slide. Now, real quick, in the second paragraph, the American eater, I believe, when it comes to a human being, are the fastest of all on the earth at eating their food. We eat our food too fast. So when you eat your food too fast, you don't massacre it properly, and it's very hard on your digestive system. Even at the bottom, he says, to hasten our meals down in these areas that were mentioned, that make up the machination of our digestive system. Half masticated puts too much labor on the machination of our bodies and causes sores in the stomach and in the intestinal tract. So we got to chew our food. I mean, just do a little more work in the jaw. Next slide, please. Acid tripping. Now, when someone says that you are too acidic, I want you to remember these things. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. We all need proteins. So right there, the building blocks of your body is acid. Then when you work out, your body produces lactic acid. You can't do nothing without producing acid. You're too acidic, right? Then DNA. Guess what the A in DNA stands for? Oh, you guessed it. Deoxyribonucleic acid. The pattern in which your body is constructed is an acid reaction. Are you too acidic? Or are you tired of people acid tripping? Thank you. Next slide. Tough to digest. What we need is good bacteria. We need probiotics. You notice that the dairy is what you need on this side? Dairy is a part of our diet, very good part of our diet. Next slide. Probiotics are good enzymes. You notice that kefir is up there, sauerkraut, which is a fermented food, yogurt, a lot of dairy up there. So I don't understand the attack on dairy when it comes to good digestion. Probiotics are good for digestion. It's a mutual friendship. Next slide. Probiotics does all of this for us. Prevents harmful bacteria from multiplying in the intestine. This is what probiotics do throughout the body. Next slide. Now, there's a difference now. Some of us never heard of a probiotic, but we know an antibiotic. Now, probiotics, if you read it, it says pro-life. Antibiotics, anti means anti-life. When we take an antibiotic, it wipes out all of our good and bad bacteria in our gut. It wrecks our system. Doctors are sometimes very hesitant to prescribe antibiotics because it wrecks your digestive system. So you take an antibiotic, it wrecks your digestive system. Then you try to go back to eat normally and you're having problems. And you naturally try to blame the food that you can't digest, which is dairy and bread. And sometimes when you take an antibiotic, you never fully recover. Next slide, please. The human brain is 60% fat. You need more fat in your diet. Al-Balaj Muhammad said that in this quote that the brain and the stomach have a lot of similar things. In the brain, I have to speed this up, I'm sorry. A lot of our major organs are fatty tissue. Fats and milk are not bad for you. You need to exercise though. You can't just eat fat and sit on your behind. You have to exercise. Next slide, please. Once again, I apologize. Now we get into the crux here. We're coming down the home stretch. I got a little paper left. I've been sitting on this subject for a long time, brothers and sisters. I have to get this out. Eat once every 24 hours. This is a study done by the Mayo Clinic. I have the printout here if you doubt that this is the Mayo Clinic. They did an experiment, not a study. They fed people markers in their food, and they timed how long it took for the markers to pass through. The average for men was 33 hours, and the average for women was 47 hours. They gave children a dyed drink, and they measured when the dye began to come out in the urine. It's 33 hours. So how long does digestion take? More than 24 hours. So eat once a day makes kind of sense, right? All right, let's go a little further. These are quotes from Almond Milk Muhammad about the health benefits of eating one meal a day. I'm not going to read them all. These are in the books. I wish you would get the books and read them for yourself. Next slide. Let's see here. This is talking about fasting and eating once a day. Here, 95% of our sicknesses come from eating before we are hungry. Frequent eating puts our stomach to work before it calls for food. Let us eat one meal a day or one meal every other day. I know I'm scaring a lot of people. One meal every other day. One meal every 48 hours? Y'all crazy. Almond Muhammad wanted to make eating one meal a day a law. In the lower paragraphs, we must make this teaching binding upon us as a law. That's how important he feels that it is. Next slide, please. Restriction in diet is key to living a long life and good health. This is a study done with a 3-day fast. It says it resets your immune system. Next slide, please. Why? Why should you worry about good health and restricting your diet to good foods? Your body rebuilds itself. We have the technology. We can rebuild him. Oh, thank God, man. Y'all laughing.
Come on.
I thought that was going to go over people's heads.
Come on.
It says here that the entire body rebuilds itself in less than 2 years. I think it's more closer to 8. Every 8 years, the body rebuilds itself completely. 8 years ago, you were a different person. Same DNA, though. Same acid. But you were a completely different person. The same body mass of cells that came out your mother's womb doesn't exist anymore. You're a new set of cells. Every 8 years, you are a brand new person. So it behooves you to eat better.
Yes, sir.
Next slide. Preserve the cells. Come on.
So you could look sweet 16 at 116 years. Now, I know you Muslims are crazy. I know you're saying this in your head. 116 years old, I look like I'm 16. Our Savior has arrived. Allah God in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever, out of his own mouth, said to me that he causes us to grow into a new growth, and that we would have the look and energy of one 16, who is 16 years old, pardon me, of age, and our youth and energy of a 16-year-old will last forever. Y'all saying no, that's not true. I've never seen someone over 100 years old looking 16. But if you think about it, if you allow yourselves to regenerate properly,
Come on.
you should look as a mature